doing one this time that we haven't really done before.
Great.
I have a feeling...
I'm glad we're both doing new topics.
No, I just mean like the genre.
Same, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I have a feeling there's no way you haven't heard of it. I just haven't because I'm not as versed.
Chronically online.
Yeah. I hope it's not boring and I hope I do it justice. I hope when you hear the title of it, you're not like, oh, this one again. But if you are, just pretend.
Oh, yeah, I pretend no matter what.
Great. You hate all of my stories.
No.
Oh. No, I do not hate your stories.
You pick the best topics, Harmony.
I love to sit here and talk with you and
Welcome to Make It Weird.
to make it weird. Did you guys know? There's no way you would have known because we've never said it before. Originally, when we started this podcast, we were going to call it Listen because all the time we go, listen.
Listen.
But
I still think that would have been a good name.
I think it was a good one, but I think Make It Weird is a little easier to find.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but
I think one day in the future, once we become really rich and popular and famous, we should
Obviously.
release our old Listen episodes.
oh god, I still got them, I think. Yeah. The sound
Somewhere.
quality is very bad, but we were having a good time.
Yeah, there was a refrigerator running in the background.
Yes.
You better go catch it. Anyway.
Oh man. How are you?
It's noon. And good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's literally noon.
It's actually just good noon because it's not afternoon just yet.
Oh, fuck.
At 12:01 you can say that.
Jeremy.
How embarrassing.
Well, it's afternoon because it turned noon, and then it's noon. It's 12:00.
You're not wrong.
And then
Yeah,
1 second.
yeah. I guess seconds after it is afternoon.
It's afternoon.
Yeah.
You dumb bitch. God,
It's a shame that you're so fucking stupid.
It's 12:01. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, bitch.
That's really mean. That's hateful.
Good. It was meant to be.
Wow.
How are you?
Heartbroken.
Oh no. Because I called you a bitch?
Yeah.
Or just like
No,
in
yeah.
life?
That. No, I've been good. I've been reminiscing a lot lately. I've been thinking about things. Yeah.
Reminiscing on good things?
Dead people.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, I see dead people, but like I reminisce dead people.
Yeah.
I remember dead people.
Yes. You remember dead people.
Yeah, I remember dead people too. There's lots
Yeah.
of people that are dead now that
There
we
are.
remember them.
Some of them deserve it.
I saw
Huh?
a horrible article that I didn't want to click
Oh.
because it was something about Phil Collins saying that he like wasn't well. And I was like, I can't click that because I'm not emotionally stable enough to hear anything about that.
The Pope getting sick, that's fine.
Yeah, that's
Phil
fine.
Collins, unacceptable.
No, that one for me, like a lot of people when Michael Jackson died, like it really, people that grew up in the 80s,
Yeah.
it really ripped them apart. This one for me,
Yeah.
I grew up listening to the Tarzan soundtrack every time I like fell asleep, or the Brother Bear one. You remember Brother
Oh my
Bear?
god, did he do Brother Bear?
He did, yeah. A much less well-known movie.
I love Brother Bear.
Oh, it was such a good movie.
It was
They made
really
a second
good.
one, which was lame. They shouldn't have.
Yeah, why would they
but
do that?
The first one
No,
was great. Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah. I found out the secret to the Phantom Pier, by the way.
the Phantom Pier. I thought you
Yeah.
said like pier, like
No,
on a dock.
I found out what's been going on at work with somebody peeing in the toilet and not flushing it.
Tell me.
It turns out if you just don't hold the handle down all the way, it just doesn't take all of the water from the toilet. So
Once again, just check. Just do a
just
quick
check.
little checky check.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that is so grossed out by the bathroom that like, especially because our bathroom is really tiny.
Yeah.
I always shut the lid, but like I
Do
watch
you lift it back up to check?
sometimes.
Oh god.
I don't want to be embarrassed by my husband who could literally not give a shit what the toilet looks like.
No, he doesn't care.
It's literally
probably-
it's just me.
He just eats out of there every day.
He sure does.
It's extra flavoring.
Anyways, would you like to go first? I can go first if you'd rather.
Either way is totally fine with me. Mine may become incoherent.
Okay, let's let you go second then.
Okay.
Let's end on the incoherence.
We'll end on the incoherence.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
It
fine
just,
with me.
We'll just like slowly ramble out, like silently fade away.
We might have to. I'm not joking.
All right, so I decided to choose a local story.
Oh.
You know what we have not done nearly enough of, or actually I don't think we've done any of, is ghost stories.
I love ghost stories.
Me too.
Ooh.
Hauntings, all that shit. I love it.
Okay.
So today I'm going to share a story
Okay.
about the Bridgeport Poltergeist on Lindley Street.
Ooh, okay, all right.
Do you know this?
I don't.
You might as we get going.
We'll see. Because I know there's a few in New Haven, and New Haven has some good alien sightings too, but I don't think I know much about Bridgeport. It's a little too far west for me.
Yeah. But yeah, so Bridgeport, Connecticut, not too far from us. But yeah, I was really excited when I found this. This one is one of the most well-documented hauntings.
Yeah.
Which makes it really interesting.
Are fucking Ed and Lorraine Warren involved in this?
Yes.
Then yes, I have heard of
Okay.
this. Yep, just let's go.
Yes, Ed and Lorraine Warren are in this one. This one is done a lot. You may have heard this one before. Weirdly enough, I hadn't, or I don't think I have. I forget everything, so, you never know. But yeah, this one, lots of people on podcasts have done it. I would imagine that more than one ghost movie is loosely based on this in some shape or form. It has some similarities with Carrie. Yeah, so it's a fun one. So I think it's fair to say when you're listening to a ghost story, it's important to keep an open mind, just enjoy the ride. Don't be a skeptic.
I want you to actually keep that for the rest of the podcast, like for the rest of this episode. Like I'm just start opening your mind, and we're going to just keep it gaping open.
Just
for the
like
rest.
rip your brain in half, like Severance.
Kind of like the Zizians, you're gonna like take the two halves of your brain and separate them.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Pull them apart, slice your cranium open, open it up to the air.
Like a butterfly.
Yeah, exactly. And get ready to fill it with stuff from this podcast.
Just this one episode, though.
Just this one.
Yeah, nothing else.
Never again. I wrote, the world is falling apart in shambles, so just listen to the nice little spooky story, okay?
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, go away. Get your own podcast. Do it yourself. Listen to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then put it on the internet and see how other people like it. They won't. Nobody likes our podcast but us.
We actually don't send it to anyone. We just listen to ourselves.
It ends up on Spotify for nobody else but for us to listen to.
It's private. Only us can listen to it. Only us can listen to it. Only we can listen to it.
Private podcasters only.
PPO.
Pup.
So me personally, I love ghost stories. I'm very down for listening to ones that aren't like 100% believable. I'm here for the vibes. I'm a big fan of the podcast Unexplained. He does a lot of those ghost stories where
Richard McLean
Smith. That's the one.
Yeah.
But that being said, the reason this story sticks out so much from a lot of other haunting or ghost poltergeist stories is because it has a ton of legitimate witness statements. And I say legitimate because there are so many of them.
Oh, yeah.
Around like 70 different people have given witness statements.
Wow.
Police officers, the people involved, neighbors, firefighters, priests, etc. Yeah, so this one feels a bit more real to me.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Yay! Get spooky.
I'm so ready to get spooky.
Turn off your lights. No, okay.
No, wrong way.
It's the fan. Great.
All right, my lights are turned off.
We turned off our light. Light a candle.
We have a candle. It's lit.
Pour a 16-ounce cup of vodka. Drink it in one sip. And get ready to listen. I'm ready. All right, so we're going to travel back to 1960s Bridgeport, Connecticut, where newlyweds Laura and Gerard, or Jerry Gooden, have just purchased their first home, a little bungalow-style house situated in a suburb on Lindley Street. So let's learn a little bit about Laura and Jerry first, because it is important.
Great.
So Jerry grew up Catholic. He had dreams of becoming a Catholic priest one day, but unfortunately the depression took a toll on him pursuing his dream. He joined the Air Force and later, had some like other jobs like being a mason or etc.
I'm sorry, I just love that like everyone who I know who had a dream and then gave up on it joined the military.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Join the military today and give up on your dreams.
Yes, it's the slogan. That's it right there.
Laura grew up in a loving Native American family. I don't know if she's 100% Native American, but she does have part of that in her genealogy. She was a bit more reserved than Jerry, a bit more introverted. 1 year after moving into the home, I wrote that Jerry gave birth to their son.
Thank you, Jerry. Oh my God, an icon. A true feminist.
This
right
is the story about the first man to give birth.
Thank God. I've been waiting for this.
Not vaginally, but penisally.
You know hyenas give birth through a penis?
Hyenas do?
Yeah, female
I do remember hearing that.
I
yeah.
told you.
Yes, that's you. Of course it came from you.
It's another 2023 fact. Female hyenas have penises and they give birth through them.
Wild.
Yep.
Anyways, so Laura gave birth to their first son, Jerry Jr.
Was that through her hyena penis?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
She is a hyena.
Incredible.
Unfortunately, just 6 months later, Jerry Jr. was diagnosed with cerebral palsy.
Aww.
And sadly, Jerry caught a cold when he was around 6 years old, which of course progressed because of the disease, and he succumbed to his illness and died in 1967.
Oh, that's
very sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So not long after this, the mother Laura actually had to undergo a hysterectomy because they discovered that she had a tumor. So this saved her from having cancer, but now she cannot have children. So this is when they began looking into the adoption process because they really did want to have children. All right, so 1968, they received news of a 4-year-old Native American girl living in Canada who was in need of a home. The couple fell instantly in love with young Marcia, and they adopted her very soon after. There had been reports that Marcia had grown up in a possibly abusive household, perhaps a byproduct of this and young Jerry Jr.'s death. Laura was noted as becoming very overprotective and would only allow Marcia to play with children who came to their house.
I get that.
I completely understand that. If you lost your child and then, I can only imagine. So this is when the spooky shit starts.
Great.
So shortly after Marcia moved into the home, strange things began happening. They started small, like objects would be lost, reappear in different places, but then they began to grow more intense as time went on. So November 1971, the Goodins would make their first call of many to the local Bridgeport police. They started hearing a strange pounding noise from inside the house. Like they were inside and they heard the noise. Reportedly, it sounded like someone was throwing rocks against the side of their house. Anytime they went out to investigate, of course, the noise would stop. It's hard to find like the exact cadence, but it seemed like it would start, go on for weeks, stop, and then like as it got closer towards the end of the year, like towards November, it would stop for us like a myriad of time, like a couple months or something.
Interesting.
So exactly 1 year later, November 1972, Bridgeport police received a second call from the Goodins. The sound had started up again.
Were they, cause you said it sounded like somebody was throwing rocks. Did they find rocks outside or anything like that?
No, they did not.
Okay.
No, they, at this point in time, they find nothing for an explanation. So firefighters, city officials, police officers, they all started becoming involved in this case.
Why are the firefighters involved?
Exactly.
What the
There's
fuck
a lot of them involved in this.
Are they bored?
Maybe. It's Bridgeport, Connecticut.
You guys, this fucking building's on fire. Yeah, but Laura and Ted got some rocks getting thrown at their house again.
It's more important to us.
Yeah, we're gonna go check that out instead.
None of these people were able to identify the source of the noise. So, like I said, the noise would occasionally stop for a week or more, but when it would return, it would be like more aggressive, louder. Later that year, the sound stopped for a few months, but like clockwork, it came back again the following November, 1973. Sometimes the pounding would even sound if it was coming from inside the house instead of outside. So this went on for several years, no explanation.
And how old is the adopted daughter?
She's around like 7 or 8 at this time.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, when things get really crazy, she's 10.
Okay, yeah.
So we're leading,
that makes
to
sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you know things about poltergeists, or
because I know things about poltergeists.
Yeah.
I was a child who was way too obsessed with ghosts, and I know a lot about ghost lore.
Yep. Poltergeists are an interesting one. They really are. Yeah, it's very interesting. I know a very small amount, but I'm sure you could. Yeah, feel free if you have any information on that stuff. Feel free to.
I'm gonna hold it in because you might mention it.
We do a little bit. Yeah. Speaking of firefighters.
Whoop whoop. Police.
That was the first episode we recorded. What did you say?
Whoop whoop. It's the incompetent police.
Yeah. That was my favorite.
That was for listen. Yeah.
That was so good.
I think, was it the first or was it the second?
It was, what? Yeah, I don't remember.
I felt so bad because I was so exhausted and I was like falling asleep on the couch.
You were so tired, yeah. That was when you started training and stuff, right?
Yeah, it was it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot every day and it was.
All right, so Marcia was in school at this time, and unfortunately she became a victim of very intense bullying. Probably because she was Native American, living in a primarily white area. That's what I would imagine, at least.
She was Canadian, you said?
From Canada, yes.
So she was First Nations, or?
Yes. So at one point, Marcia was beaten so badly, she ended up in the hospital and actually required a back brace.
Poor girl.
Yeah. And of course, this isn't helping Laura being overprotective. So they bring her in to homeschool. They're wanting to find another school eventually, but, they're homeschooling her for the time. So one night while the banging noise continued, Laura distinctly heard 3 knocks on the front door. When she went to answer...
Don't answer the fucking door! Don't answer the door! I'm sorry.
Horror movie 101.
God, no, just... Okay, you finish and then I'll rant. When she went to go answer the door...
No one was there. As she began going back inside, she noticed a trail of wet footprints on the front porch leading back into the house, even though it was a dry night.
Don't answer the door! Don't answer it!
Do you think she'll let the poltergeist in?
That's like it's a through line in a bunch of different lores and stories and stuff, is that like things will knock on windows, they'll knock on doors. You answering that door opens up the barrier to them.
That makes sense. I mean, I knew that about vampires, but yeah,
it's fine.
Interesting.
It's like whenever I read that in a story or I see it in the movie, I just want to like grab somebody and shake them vigorously and be like, why would you answer the door? God.
You dumb bitch.
Yeah, just don't. That's why I never answer the door.
That's why I stay in my house and go nowhere. And and you kill any intruders.
Yes. No, ironically enough, this morning, sorry, little tangent, Casey showed me this video with somebody on their Ring doorbell where somebody had ordered like Grubhub or Uber Eats and the woman answered the door and accepted it, and the guy came back to try to ask her if she wanted to go on a date with him. Well, it was the husband that answered it and was like, I'm her husband, like, fuck off. But it's like, I don't want to answer the door.
Yeah, no.
I told Casey I was going to get a burqa. Just cover myself entirely before I answer the door.
The few times that people knock on our door, I always just look at the Ring camera, and 9 times out of 10, I decide not to answer it. Yeah. Like, there's been a couple times where it's kids selling chocolate bars, and I'll usually answer it for them. But like, no, I'm good. I don't need whatever you're selling. And if I don't know you and you're knocking on my door and I don't know why you're here, come back later.
You don't want to get more solar panels?
Moving on.
Anyway.
So things only intensified from this point forward.
And all the knocks were on the outside, too.
I love that you know this stuff, because that makes total sense, something coming, because this is the only time they mentioned something about like wet footprints going into the house. It's the only time this is mentioned. So that would make sense if they let something in.
And for some reason, poltergeists are associated with water. Like, it'll be super common in a bunch of different stories for them to turn on faucets and let water run.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what specifically that's about, but like it's just
they're from the ocean.
It's just a fish.
They're anglerfish.
Did you see the little anglerfish?
Yeah.
Little guy.
Do you know he died like right after?
Yeah, of course he did. They're not meant to come up that high.
But,
the pressure difference, dog.
I love the idea that he like wanted to see the sun.
He's a fish.
That's what people are saying. There was this video of a girl. She was trying to explain to her boyfriend and she's sobbing.
No, we got a guy at work who was like, he came into work and he looked exhausted. And we were like, Cody, what's going on? He's like, my wife's in town and she kept me up all night crying about the stupid fucking anglerfish.
It's really sweet. He just wanted to see the sun before he died.
He died because he came up. He got caught in a net and he depressurized too quickly. It's the same thing with the blobfish. The blobfish isn't supposed to look like that.
Maybe he already knew he was going to die.
His doctor diagnosed him with terminal cancer.
Yes. So he was like, I just want to see what the light looks like, not the one from my forehead.
You ever read the poem about the two-headed cow? The two-headed calf?
I don't think so.
Oh, well, you'll cry over that one then.
Oh, okay. No, thank you. So, going back to things intensifying, doors would open and close by themselves. The Goodens would turn away from furniture and then turn back and find it in a different position. And Jerry was convinced one night he had actually seen a person's hand pressed up against the glass of one of his bedroom windows.
Ooh, were they on the second floor?
Yes.
Oh!
Yes, it was, yeah. On November 21st, 1974, the Goodens had friends over for dinner, and while they were eating, they heard the sound of glass smashing coming from the primary bedroom. When they entered, they saw the inside window pane had been smashed and glass was on the floor, but the outside pane
just
was untouched.
The inside.
Mm-hmm. That same night, the pounding sound continued more loudly than ever before.
Bro.
Right? So a few days later, a series of strange occurrences started happening over the course of a weekend. On Saturday, the Goodens returned from Mass with young Marcia asleep, and Jerry carried her into her bedroom to find her TV had been placed face down on her bed. They didn't describe the furniture in her room, but it kind of seems like maybe she had her TV set up like right at the end of her bed, like maybe like almost touching it,
like on a dresser or something.
Yeah,
at the tail
and
end.
It's the 60s, so it's probably ginormous, like a giant box. You know?
Those things just don't fall over. It's not
no.
a flat screen.
No. He returned to the kitchen to tell Laura, and when he did, the dishes in the sink suddenly lifted up and smashed against the wall.
Well, they said placed too. Like it wasn't like it fell.
Right. It was put there.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Like placed to me is like it was gently laid there purposefully.
Right. As Jerry was picking up the pieces of the broken dishes, a knife block flew past and narrowly missed him.
Man, I'd be so mad if a fucking ghost broke my dishes. You're not even paying rent.
This is one of my worst fears is moving, because I love old homes, is moving into one that has a fucking ghost like this. No, thank you. As they were unloading groceries onto the kitchen table that same day, Laura watched as the table lifted into the air and flipped over, tossing groceries onto the floor, and then turned around to find the refrigerator was hovering. Also, 1960, that fridge is heavy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
As she retreated into the living room, the TV then levitated and came crashing down on her foot, breaking her toes.
Oh, no. Her little piggies. Yeah.
That same night, Jerry was in his bathroom brushing his teeth when he heard Marcia scream. He ran into her bedroom to find the TV had fallen onto the same position as he'd found it earlier that day, this time landing on Marcia's ankle.
Oh.
This ghost wants to kill everyone's feet.
He's an
anti-foot fetish.
I was going to say pedageist. But like, ped like foot. Ped like foot.
Not child.
Not child.
But like he's got an anti-foot fetish, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he wants all feet to die.
Yes.
He hates them so much.
That's me if I was a ghost. God, just put some fucking socks on.
I don't want to see your feet. I don't want to see my own feet. Do you remember you came over to my house one time?
I do remember when I came over to your house one time. I thought about that the other day. I thought about that yesterday, actually.
I wasn't wearing socks, and she goes, I've never seen your feet before.
I remember that. I very distinctly remember that.
You would think
strange.
someone like that, with that reaction, would not be okay with intertwining your toes together. But then we did intertwine our toes.
It was a very special moment.
It was. I'll remember it forever.
Making space for our toes.
So most likely scared to shit, the family,
Yeah, I fucking bet.
They all just returned to the living room for that night to watch TV together, try and get through this shit. At one point, Marcia went to the bathroom alone, which they probably shouldn't have let her, but she did, and let out another scream. They ran to the bathroom, found that it had been completely ransacked. Like the shower curtain was off the wall, trash everywhere, items strewn about. Yeah. That Sunday, Jerry awoke to find the kitchen in a very similar state, just trashed. That day continued with even more strange occurrences: floating furniture, items found on the floor, static playing on the TV. And at one point, Jerry recalled seeing a crucifix that was hung on the wall being flung to the floor right in front of him.
Yeah. Did they have a pool?
No.
Damn. Okay.
Very tiny house, like less than 800 square feet.
I know. I was just hoping that it would be like literally from Poltergeist. They moved the headstones, but not the bodies. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Oh, man. We watched that together, didn't we?
We did.
Poltergeist?
Yeah. I'd seen that a few times, but I think, was that your first time seeing it?
It was. Yeah, I hadn't seen it before. It was good. Like, it holds up.
It's
fun.
It's kind of goofy at times.
Oh, sure.
But it's because it's from like the 70s or the 80s. Like
80s, yeah, I think so.
I'm
Yeah,
not
we
looking
also
it up.
watched Paranormal Activity together the first time I had seen it. And this is when...
You and me?
Yeah.
The first one? Oh my god, we did!
Yeah, we did!
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because I know I watched the third one, which is my favorite Paranormal Activity with Brittany.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Dude.
And I would still like to watch that one.
Oh my gosh. So okay, controversial opinion. I actually love Paranormal Activity. Yeah. I think it's a very fun franchise.
I loved the first one.
A lot of really good world building at times.
Yeah.
And like some of it's kind of hokey, but like it's a great found footage style
It is,
movie.
and it scared the shit out of me. So this was when my husband was deployed.
Oh my god, we did that when he was gone. I'm so
We
sorry.
did. I wanted to watch it, but this is where I think I told you this. So Haley left after we watched the movie. Of course, I'm a little bit spooked. I'm in the house alone, whatever. I'm in the bathroom. Dogs are all asleep in the bedroom. I'm brushing my teeth. I hear a fucking smack downstairs in the basement. Like shitting myself scared. I searched the whole house. I can't find anything. I can't figure out what did it. So I go to bed horrified. I wake up the next day, I immediately figure out what it was. The calendar on the fridge had fallen off. Like, which it has done before. Like, it was not a ghost. But like, goddamn if that didn't scare the shit out of me.
I think it was around that same time Bobby was gone and you had gone for something and I had come over to like check on Egg.
Yes.
Like the dogs weren't even home.
Right, yeah.
And it was so quiet in your house. It was unnerving.
It's
like
weird.
It was so creepy. I
when
turned
the
all
heat's
the lights
not on and like there's nothing running, it is very quiet.
But your house is not haunted.
No.
I would tell you if it was.
I've never ever felt that way.
Yeah.
And we have a creepy fucking crawl space. Like if it was haunted, that's where they would live.
I wouldn't open that crawl space up Halloween night. I tell you what.
Because you walk in and then there's like a long stretch to the right so like at a 90-degree angle. So it's one of those, if you have a flashlight and you like turn a corner, you would absolutely expect to see some little gremlin down there. Like
It's gonna be me.
you're just in the corner on your phone scrolling. All right. Anyways. So after this, on Sunday, when things are getting crazy, you know, they're panicking. So Laura and Jerry, they take Marcia out on the front lawn. They start calling their friends that live nearby for help. And then shortly afterwards, police officers arrive to inspect the home. And they are witness to several instances of moving and floating furniture. I'm going to say this note, and you're going to feel skeptical, but we're going to talk about it more later.
Okay.
So one officer noted that Marcia seemed to show little emotion. Mm-hmm. And at one point was happily watching cartoons on TV during all these investigations.
She's a fucking kid. She's exhausted. Let the girl watch some cartoons. Yes.
I have some shit to say about that stuff. We'll get there. So at one point during the police officer's investigation of the home, it was really good timing.
Yeah, that was great.
A golden crucifix hanging on the wall flew off and hit him in the chest. After which he said, quote, he'd had enough, and he returned to his patrol car and locked the door.
What? You're just gonna leave that poor family?
Honestly, that would be me. I'd be like, I'm out. This is above my pay grade.
Yeah, fun selling your home, bitches.
I thought I was gonna, like, put murderers in jail, not...
He's not fucking Zach Baggins.
Is that Frodo Baggins' brother?
No, it's the guy from Ghost Adventures.
Oh, okay.
Holy shit, I can't think of that name.
I figured that's who you were talking about.
Yeah.
A crew from the fire station came to the house and witnessed similar events as the police did. Ambulances and other crew began showing up to the house, attracting attention to the scene. And then soon a small crowd started forming around the house.
Yeah, it's 1974. What the fuck else are you doing at 6 p.m.?
Exactly, yes. This part is really creepy to me. Okay. Jerry noticed the pink plastic roses that they had put on Jerry Jr.'s coffin, floating around, and he smelled sulfur in the air.
Sulfur is also associated with poltergeists.
Yes, it
very
is.
Frequently.
Yes, it is. Except for on Supernatural. I think sulfur is for demons on that one.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah.
Well, Supernatural is very factually correct, and it's like the Bible for paranormal. Fucking
no,
kidding.
But like sulfur, the smell of sulfur is associated with demons as well.
Yeah. Oh, it is both.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
They're depending on who you ask, poltergeists are demons. It's
oh, interesting.
But then it gets into like different beliefs of ghosts and spiritualism, and like some people believe that anything that pretends to be something that it's not is a demon. Like anything that would contact you.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, poltergeists are not nice, so that kind of makes sense. But this little poltergeist is not here to hang around. He is, but like
he's here
for a good time. Yeah.
Pack your body bags. We're going on a slaycation. Tim, what's a slaycation?
A slaycation is a murder or mysterious death that happens while you're on vacation.
If you like to mix humor with horror and travel,
join me, Kim Davis.
And me, Adam Tex Davis.
And me, Jerry Colbert.
As we look at the craziest slaycations that will have you asking, what the F is wrong with people? You can find Slaycation on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.
Just remember, getting away can be murder.
So at this point, Jerry decides to reach out to the church for their help. And a priest named Father Bill visited the home, and ultimately he said there is an evil force here. And so he attempts to do a blessing. Mm-hmm. He is unsuccessful. The holy water that he was trying to use started being moved around.
Yeah.
Like, that is wild to me. This poltergeist demon, whatever, it don't fuck around.
He's having a great time.
And he ended up calling an exorcist, and the exorcist basically, they said no. Like, they were kind of like picky choosy about this stuff, and they were worried about it becoming a big media thing, which unfortunately it will become.
Well,
but yeah.
Exorcisms and generally have to be like approved. It's a whole process, and it's not just we're gonna call our local Catholic priest and have an exorcism. It's
right.
Like a pure Catholic exorcism is like
yeah. So they got denied for that, unfortunately. This part is really creepy. Police claimed that a couple of different times their family cat, the Goodens cat, spoke to them, said a number of different things, or like sang songs like Jingle Bells. Yeah.
Okay.
However, later on, people tried to... I don't want to give too much away about the ending of this, but like people were trying to say that Marcia was like fucking with them, like would hold the cat and like make little voices. I'm sorry. I think I would be able to tell the difference between those two, between a cat cat holding a person, between a person holding a cat and being like, hi, I'm a cat, and then a cat over in the corner being like, jingle bells, like.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it's gotta be like, I don't know. It's just, it also sounds like something that could very easily, like, the media is picking shit up, like everybody in the community, there's been a crowd forming whenever the police come in.
The media part
like,
in this gets very bad. It gets picked apart like crazy. Yeah.
I could see the police officers wanting to just say something to get involved.
Exactly.
You know? People want attention.
So apparently one of their neighbors named Mary had an interest and some knowledge in paranormal activity and about poltergeists. So
That'd be me.
Yeah. So she is the one who called Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yeah.
And at this point, the Goodens just want fucking help. Like, they don't know anything really about this couple. Ed and Lorraine Warren, unfortunately, they're gonna put a pretty bad taste in their mouth in this story, which they should.
They generally do. Yeah.
They're pretty awful in this story.
They're actually, like, not the best kind of generally people.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you could tell me a lot more, but this story in particular, they're pieces of shit.
Yeah.
So Ed and Lorraine visit the home with the priest, Father Bill, and then Father Bill brings a young seminary student named Paul. All this time, the house is continuing to attract more and more attention. The crowd is growing. So Ed and Lorraine asked Paul, the seminary, to stay close to Marcia. They wanted him to be the one to stay by her side, since, as I'm sure you were going to say earlier, children can often be the center of poltergeist activity.
Yep.
So more than one instance witnessed by many people, Marcia sitting in a recliner in their living room and the recliner being lifted up off the floor while she's sitting in it.
Wow.
Like police officers and everyone, they all say they saw this.
And she's just sitting there watching cartoons and having a great fucking time.
I do think she would, like, there's a couple times where they said she screamed or like became scared. I mean, I would assume you get a little bit scared.
Also, like, you're 10. Your mind's pretty flexible. If this is your normal, this is your normal.
Exactly. That's something that we need to, let's keep in mind for this story is that, so Marcia's 10. She's getting a ton of attention.
Yeah.
Kids love attention.
Same.
I was going to say so do adults like us, people that have podcasts. But like, as a kid, you're going to do kind of anything to get attention.
Yeah.
So she's eating this up. Police officers are like, she's becoming their friend and everything. So it makes a lot of sense that she is kind of like weirdly enjoying some of this stuff.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah. So all the while, there's continual moving of furniture. The banging sound keeps going. At one point, they have electricians and plumbers come out to check the house, like do this whole check of everything.
Yeah.
They don't find anything wrong. Like,
of course they won't.
Yeah, there's not going to be anything that they ever find that gives them some kind of explanation. So this is the part I was talking about with the Warrens. So Ed Warren, unbeknownst to everyone else, starts calling media reporters.
Yep.
So reporters were, and keep in mind, Laura and Jerry, like, they're just panicked and like they just want help. Like there is no mention in this story ever where they want any of this fucking attention.
Right.
So initially they do allow reporters into the home. And one of the reporters mistook an old Catholic prayer book for something occult and then started a rumor that Marcia was practicing the occult with said prayer book. So now...
This 10-year-old.
Yes,
This
exactly.
10-year-old who's already being bullied at school.
Yep.
Is practicing the occult.
Yes. The rumor mill has officially started.
And this is also, keep in mind, like the mid-70s, which is around the time the Satanic Panic is in full swing.
Yes.
So
And The Exorcist came out around this time too.
My story also takes place around this time.
Oh, hell yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on.
So much good stuff happened in the 70s. So, yeah, like I said earlier, Marcia allegedly, from all the witnesses, they think that she's enjoying this attention and she's kind of playing off these mysterious things happening and trying to replicate the recliner hovering. So, like, there's a couple times they notice that when police and crew, whoever, are in the home, they see her trying to replicate certain things, or she'll like kind of nudge the TV, or she'll like rock in the recliner. She's trying to get more attention.
Yeah.
Like the thing is not happening at that moment. She's like, this thing gives me attention when said thing floats or whatever. So I want to kind of, that's my opinion at least. Like I could be wrong, but like I do not believe that this 10-year-old was trying to hoax these people.
If I was a 10-year-old and like the news was in my home, and I was like, ooh, I could get famous.
I'm going to eat that up. Are you kidding me? This is my opportunity.
Oh yeah, I'm doing everything in my power. I'm going to be so fucking obnoxious. Exactly. I already am, but like even more so.
Apparently at one point, Lorraine had a burn on her wrist, which was witnessed by the Goodens.
Okay.
And she claimed that she was feeling really nauseous.
Of course.
That'll come into play here in a second. So, Jerry at this time, like, this is weeks on end. He's got to go back to work. People at work are becoming really hostile with him. They're accusing him of this whole thing being a hoax. They just want attention. Yeah. Like, these people are getting just shit thrown at them from all angles. And yeah.
Yeah.
The crowds also become really rowdy. They're banging on their doors, their windows. Like, there are people that are interested in it, and then there are people that are trying to tell them that you just want attention. You're just here for the media, so they're trying to, fuck with them.
Fucking go away.
Exactly. Mind your own goddamn business.
But also, who cares if they just want attention? You're giving it to them.
Right, exactly. You're making it worse.
Yeah. Shut up. Make your own podcast.
So this next occurrence that kind of sticks out, Paul, Laura, and Marcia are all playing Monopoly in the living room when a yellow mist started forming around them. And within the mist, they can see 4 figures.
Ooh.
Yeah. And the smell in the room starts filling with sulfur. Apparently, this part I didn't find a ton about. This was in the podcast that I listened to, which I'll link that at the end. Jerry came into the room and was like speaking Latin verses, which is something he hadn't done since he was like a kid.
Yeah.
And they think that it didn't sound like him.
Nice. Oh, I eat this shit up.
I know.
I love it so much.
Apparently, this same day, like when they were playing Monopoly, something picked Marcia up and threw her across the room.
But no, she's doing it to herself.
A child cannot do that. You can't replicate that. Like,
do you want to try it right now?
Kind of.
Bobby, come watch to see if we're throwing ourselves across the room or not.
I break another bone.
We recorded that time though.
So Ed and Lorraine, still unknown to everyone else, they are continuing to call reporters and get more media attention. The interesting thing though is that the more people that come around, the more witnesses we have. Mm-hmm. So the captain at the local police station is getting really frustrated with this whole thing. He thinks it's a hoax. And he's like, I want my resources freed up. I want this to be put to an end. Like, we're not coming to any solution. We don't know what the fuck's going on.
What are the police supposed to do? Shoot a ghost?
I know. Like, yeah.
Get them out of here.
Exactly. Pretty much all but like one police officer from this whole thing believes that it was some kind of paranormal shit.
Yeah.
The only one that didn't believe it was one that didn't actually go inside the house. So
you stupid idiot.
Yeah.
You
fucking
nerd. Bitch. You didn't even go inside the poltergeist house.
Oh, man.
Loser.
So at this point in time, because there's pressure from the police station and everything, the police that are in the home, they actually are able to get Marcia to confess that she faked the entire thing. A 10-year-old. Of course you can convince them that something is their fault, make them feel bad about it, and get them to confess something.
Yeah. Like, of course she's familiar with the police, but like, so my stepdad was a cop. Mm-hmm. If I had 3 or 4 officers come into my house when I was a 10-year-old, and I was still familiar with them, but they like accused me of faking everything, mm-hmm. I would cave in still, because a police officer is still an intimidating figure.
Exactly. Well, and you think about as a kid, like she's had these couple instances of trying to do like instigate stuff mm-hmm. herself. So then, she has it in her mind and feels guilty, like, oh, well, I did do a couple of those things. Maybe I have been doing the whole thing, mm-hmm. Like I feel like I need to confess here. I'm put in a corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they get her to confess this thing and kind of like write the whole thing off as a hoax. Around this time, the Goodens kind of start finding out what Ed and Lorraine are up to, because Marcia then told the police that she saw Lorraine put her wrist under hot water, intentionally causing the burn that was on her hand.
Great. Which I honestly would not put past the Warrens.
Yeah, no, they just want to make this whole thing blow up for their attention. And, during this time when Marcia is confessing, allegedly, and everything, this part is just kind of sad. The quote she says is, "I just wanted to see if the demon would do anything." She's astute.
Yeah.
Like, she knows what's going on. So the police deem this thing a hoax. Nothing has stopped. Like, nothing has calmed down at this point. Yeah. Things are still going like crazy. But the police presence, the ambulance, all that stuff, they kind of get cleared out of the situation, and the Goodens are left to figure this out on their own, unfortunately. Marcia was sent to a mental health clinic, but she was cleared. She had no known mental health issues. And Laura and Jerry soon discovered that Ed and Lorraine had been calling the media outlets.
Yeah.
They also learned about the burn on the wrist, and they cut all ties with Ed and Lorraine. So
good.
They said fuck off, which I think Laura and Jerry here are very well-rounded, stable individuals from this whole thing.
They thought like the Warrens were there to help, and once they realized that they weren't, they told them to fuck off.
Yeah, they don't want any of this attention.
And that's actually something that happens a lot with stories of the Warrens, mm-hmm. is that they'll go places, they'll cause a stir, and they'll be asked to leave. Yeah. Like, they're not really doing anything beneficial.
Yeah, these people genuinely want help. Mm-hmm. Like, I wouldn't know what to do. Like, literally, like I said, one of my worst fears is buying a house, finding this out, and then not able to sell the house. And then I'm forced to live there.
I would buy it.
I know you would.
And then you'd have to come over. We'd watch movies at my house.
That'd be a great place to watch scary movies if you have ghosts.
It would. I would bribe the ghost and be like, listen, man, whatever you want, just make it scarier for us, you know?
My friend's coming over. I want to spook her, okay, while we're watching this scary movie. Do what you gotta do.
Yeah. Leave some offerings.
So the police officers that were involved in this, they were actually pretty pissed off that this whole thing was chalked up to being a hoax because they very strongly believed in what they saw, and they think that there's no way that a 10-year-old could have pulled off these pranks because there's not. A bunch of this stuff was happening when Marcia was not in the room or in the house. Like things, she was not. There's no way she's gonna levitate a fucking refrigerator. I don't think a grown man could have done that.
No, I know. I was like, how could I fake this? How could I rig up something in Harmony's home to scare the shit out of her?
And so Jerry and the other police officers are attempting to defend Marcia and, say that she did not make this stuff up. The crowds at this point are continuing. They're becoming more intense. They're more aggressive. And apparently a group of men attempted to burn down the home one night to, quote, rid the neighborhood of evil.
Oh my gosh.
The house was fine. They smelled the smoke. They called the cops. They were able to, stop the whole thing. But yeah, people, of course, can't get their shit together when this stuff happens. Like I said, these occurrences are not stopping. Like there's no end in sight here. So in December of, I believe this is 74 or 73, the Goodens are contacted by someone named, I think his name is Boyce. It was kind of hard to hear. Boyce Beatty. Mm-hmm. And he contacted them and said that he had experience with poltergeists and sounded like one of the more legitimate people that had reached out to them. So he brought his team to the house and he began an actual scientific investigation.
Nice.
Spoke to witnesses, started getting all this stuff documented. That's why this is so well documented, because of this team in particular. So Beatty actually, this sounds like a weird thing to suggest, but it was with good intentions. He suggested that the family just go to therapy. I know that sounds wild, but he was like, I truly believe what's going on here. I've seen it. Like, we've got witnesses. I'm not trying to downplay this stuff. He's like, but I think with all this stuff going on, you guys need to work through this and figure out how to get this, this presence kind of away from you and everything.
Even after it's gone, how are you going to connect? Basically?
Yeah, because this is tearing their family apart. A 10-year-old, not only has she already been adopted and grown up in a potentially toxic situation, now she's being put into something, even more wild. Poor kid. I know. The Beatty and their team also kind of explained that they think that Laura was too overprotective of Marcia, and they were not allowing her to live a normal childhood, which led to Marcia's general unhappiness, something that could lead to an unexplained force of energy entering their home, which the very little that I know, and you can tell more about it, know about poltergeist, is that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, once again, it kind of depends on where your believings lie with this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. If it's it also can kind of depend too, because in some instances we see cases where the ghosts haunt the individual or a location. So if somebody came into a location that had the opportunity for a spirit to be present, and then they brought in that negative energy for it to latch onto, and of course they're feeding it as well. All of this media attention, the calls to the police, the reactions, they feed off of fear. Yeah, that makes sense. It's not helping. She's around 10 when all this starts. Mm-hmm. Another thing too that we see a lot. This is not scientific. I want to make that so clear. I'm not speaking as this is a settled science, but in stories we see poltergeists will latch onto children. Mm-hmm. Usually it's girls, young girls, and the closer they are to puberty, the more you'll see stuff like this. Okay. So that it really makes sense for it to ramp up and we really just can't get a break, can we? No, of course not. No, not in the physical world, not in the spiritual world, never ever. So I don't know. It's Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
And that's kind of what they were saying is that, Beatty said, this could follow you if you don't try to address some of the underlying causes here. Yeah. Even if you try to sell the home, which they did try to sell the home, and of course they were unsuccessful.
Yeah, you've got too much fucking news and presence going on.
They sold it eventually. I don't know when, because people still live in the house. Yeah. And there's allegedly been no paranormal activity that is documented, at least. But they weren't able to sell it while Marcia was living in the house. Through her teenage years. So going back to what I was saying about the Goodens, how they didn't want the media, they didn't want the attention. Yeah. They didn't make any money from this entire situation.
They never do.
No.
They never do.
Because that's what people were trying to say is it's a hoax. You wanted media attention and you're just making money off of it.
You go and you look at every single person who's ever talked about being haunted or being abducted by aliens, they're broke. Yeah. They have they're not making money.
No, exactly. So, and of course they actually lost money because the house was constantly being damaged. They would come, they would go somewhere else for the weekend or something to try and get away from this, come back. back, the entire house would be trashed.
Yeah.
Like all their belongings and everything. And, you know, they ended up paying a lot of lawyer fees too to try and repair the damage against Marcia's reputation so that it wouldn't follow her. You know, they turned down paid interviews. However, they offered one free interview in an attempt to clear Marcia of fault, but they would never speak publicly again about the situation.
That poor girl.
I know. So, like I said, they were unable to sell the home while Marcia lived there through her teenage years. And this part is really sad for the Goodins. At age 18, she decided to leave for Canada and find her birth parents.
Yeah.
Laura was killed in a car crash in 1993.
Oh.
And Jerry died a few later of natural causes. And Marcia apparently died not too long ago at age 51.
That's really young.
It is. Once she left their home at age 18, she basically went off the grid. Like, no one
I don't blame her at all.
heard from her. I just feel so bad for the Goodins because it sounds like they just wanted a normal fucking life to have a kid and have their little American white picket dream. And
they got plagued by this demon that's just haunted them.
yeah, and but also like their first son dying and just like they were really never given a chance to have that life that they wanted. But
that's sad.
So really quick,
yeah.
Most of the information I got was from a podcast called The Tape Library. Lovely, lovely podcast, narrated by a British guy. He does a bunch of stuff like this. He did a wonderful, wonderful job. He actually provided the most information because I found a bunch of websites that I tried to use and they kind of summarize it all. And I wanted the little like nitty gritty details. Yeah. And so he was able to give that to me. So thank you to The Tape Library. But yeah, that is the story of the Bridgeport Poltergeist on Lindley Street.
That was great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I love ghost stories. I love hauntings. I actually used to be obsessed with Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yeah.
As a teenager, Lorraine Warren was on a TV show as a medium. This TV show was, I think it was Paranormal State.
Okay.
And it was ran by the paranormal like club at Penn State. They like got funding for a fucking TV show. And me and my friend Catherine would like every week we would watch the episodes like at our houses and then like the next day at school talk about them. But I always I remember so distinctly. I'm sure I've told the story before. And I'm like, this Catherine and I, like I said, we were obsessed with the show. We used to really love Lorraine Warren. And when Lorraine Warren passed, I texted Catherine and I said, hey, I just want to let you know, like Lorraine Warren passed away. And she goes, oh, well, I hope she's doing well.
That's really funny.
I responded, I went, Catherine, she's dead. And Catherine goes, right, but like wherever she is in the afterlife, like I hope that she's doing well. And I was like, all right, that makes sense.
That's really funny. I love that.
It was very sweet.
Hope she's doing well.
I will never forget that. It was just so funny.
I love that. Tell me your story. I'm so excited to hear what it's going to be because you've given me little bitty tiny hints.
So I want to preface this by saying there is a lot to this. I'm going to do the best that I can to try to not go off on different rants. A lot of this, I sat on this topic for literally 2 weeks. I did like multiple days worth where like I was getting home from work and I was watching videos, listening to podcasts, reading stuff. I know less now than I did when I first went in is the style of episode that this is.
Let's go.
And this is about David Bowie and his obsession with the occult.
Oh, hell yes. I don't know nearly enough about David Bowie, so I'm excited.
So I had heard a little bit, like, when he passed away, for some, it was weird because growing up, I didn't listen to a lot of his music, but when he passed away, almost 9 years ago now, which is crazy.
That's wild.
It really hit me. Like you said, you know, like your parents, you know, were impacted by Michael Jackson. My mom was sad, like David Bowie died, but it was just kind of like, oh, you know, he passed away. Like
my mom was really sad when he died.
I I cried. Like I sobbed. I just knew that something was gone.
He was such a force for being different.
He was.
And he became so popular despite that.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm sorry. I might start crying.
Oh,
so
he was a wonderful person as far as we know.
Well, the 70s were a really weird time.
Yes, they were.
So fun little fact there. A couple of little fun facts. David Bowie was born David Jones, so he went by Davy Jones, which is very cute.
Incredible.
He was into music, theater, and was just a massive consumer of everything art. His art is riddled with like sprinkles of references to other artists. He is just a beautiful compiler of beautiful things. Poems, literature, science fiction, movies, and the darker works of people in the outer echelons of society are all present in his lyrics. He himself stated that there's nothing really special about his lyrics. He basically was like, the words are there to give a pretty melody to the music that I'm making.
Okay.
So I don't know if I fully believe that.
Yeah,
but
I think he had some pretty powerful lyrics, but
yeah,
I can understand how you can be your own critic with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he just basically was like, don't search for meaning that's not there, is kind of what he was trying
fair.
to say, from what I understand.
Like Taylor Swift. Sorry, I would
Sometimes
literally
I feel
never compare the two of them.
like everybody is a sexy baby.
And I'm just a monster
On a hill. So, a little fun fact that I didn't know until I watched a couple of videos of people talking about him and stuff. You know the song My Way?
Mm-hmm.
Famous by Frank Sinatra?
Yeah.
It was originally a French song. David Bowie was the first person to do the translation from French to English.
Wow.
Yeah. But he didn't get famous for it. Obviously, it's Frank Sinatra who famously began to hate the song.
Interesting.
Because he was forced to sing it everywhere, and he just
Frank
didn't
Sinatra
really
was a
care
piece
for
of
it.
garbage, right?
That's what I've heard.
Yep.
But David Bowie made the song Life on Mars on his album Hunky Dory as like his own personal My Way.
I love that.
It's a beautiful song.
It is.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's a great album. So, like I said, lover of art in all of its forms, and he lived a genuine, true life of art and all of the beauty and ugliness that comes with art.
Mm-hmm.
So when he was a young adult in the 1960s, which is an era of like yoga, the Kama Sutra, the Age of Aquarius, and we've got like this growing interest in Buddhism and like esoteric bullshit from the left, right, center, up, and down, everywhere. It's just
shrooms, LSD, all that
hallucinogens,
shit.
everything. Drugs are at the forefront of society.
Yep.
You know, it's no surprise that he grew up to be interested in and read a lot about these topics. I mean, like, it's 2025 and I read about them now. And these occult and esoteric leanings are beautifully and sometimes very blatantly woven into his lyrics. Even at the very beginning of his career, or where we see like him actually becoming popular, there's like this concept of like something descending from heaven to the earth to like be there or produce art or to warn of something. You just see it a lot in a bunch of his lyrics. I mean, you've got the character of Ziggy Stardust, who's obviously portrayed by Bowie, or really is kind of like a person that Bowie became. Something that he talked about a lot was these characters weren't just the stage for him. He was basically doing like method acting.
Okay.
He was becoming the characters.
Yeah.
And he, like, even after Ziggy died, quote unquote, and like he moved on, Bowie would refer to Ziggy as another person in interviews. He would say stuff like, you know, I don't know if how Ziggy would feel about where I am today. Like stuff like that. It wasn't
cool.
Yeah. But like back to this whole thing about something coming from, you know, the heavens to earth. Ziggy was an alien from Mars who came to warn Earth about like some oncoming apocalypse, but instead got turned to like sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Bless Ziggy.
Yeah, like, but even then, before Ziggy Stardust is even a whole thing, like, we see in the album Hunky Dory this idea of the occult in Bowie's mind. And I love the occult. I love the esoteric.
Really?
Yes, I love the esoteric. I love reading about aliens, cryptids, the hollow earth, anything, everything in between. I don't really believe any of it, but I think life becomes a lot more fun and whimsical when you allow yourself to read these other things that people can believe.
Absolutely.
It can also get a little weird.
Yes.
But like the shit that he was reading about is the kind of shit that would make like a QAnon member today blush. So the most obviously occult inspired song by David Bowie is called Quicksand off of Hunky Dory. I think it's like the 4th or the 5th track. But the song literally opens up. The first lines that he says are, I'm closer to the golden dawn, immersed in Crowley's uniform of imagery. Do you know who Aleister Crowley is?
I know the name. That's it.
Well, I mispronounce it. It's Aleister Crowley. Not really, but I'm going to call him Aleister Crowley because it's easier for me. I'm American, okay? Leave me alone. So Aleister Crowley was this great magician in the early 20th century. He was a man of mystical power, a dark sorcerer. He literally was given the nickname The Beast.
Okay, yes. It's coming back to me now. Correct.
And also ate poop.
Oh.
I'm not joking.
Okay.
No.
Sure. You do you, I guess.
He has a lot of... His whole thing was sex magic. He loved... Frankly, I think it was an excuse to fuck a lot. But, like, he loved sex. And he wrote many a story and many a poem about sex and eating menstrual blood or poop or, like... Yeah, all sorts of very... Things
a little too far.
For some people, you know. Not trying to yuck anybody's yum, but, like...
Eating poopy, though, will give you lots of diseases.
It's a DIY fecal matter transplant, actually. But he was the founding member of Thelema and he wrote the Book of the Law, which is like their document of their like laws and stuff, like how to hold yourself accountable. And he was allegedly the guy who summoned the Loch Ness Monster. Oh. Put a pin in that. I'll talk about it later. It's one of my favorite stupid things that I stumbled upon. And I heard it like a decade and a half ago, and I was like, that's mine forever. Thank you.
I didn't know that the Loch Ness Monster was allegedly summoned. I just figured it always existed.
Yeah, depends who you ask. I think that bitch was summoned.
I'd like to ask the Loch Ness Monster and get his first-hand account.
I think you should, honestly.
Okay. Next episode.
The next line that's in the song, he references Himmler. And Himmler was a Nazi who used mythology and lore to back the idea of the Aryan race being the purest and the best.
Okay.
Yeah. The quote, let me see if I can find the quote. Yeah, so the next lines are, I'm living in a silent film portraying Himmler's sacred realm of dreamed reality. Mm-hmm. And I want to like make it super clear. At this point, the stuff that he is researching and that he's reading about and referencing is some of the wildest shit you'll ever hear.
Okay.
And I say that especially because when you find out that, like, Nazis were into wild-ass occult and esoteric bullshit, like, there's no going back. And I want, like, being incredibly curious, I want to make this so apparent. I do not support Nazis, right? Nobody here supports Nazis.
Correct. We do not support Nazis at all in any way, shape, or form.
But holy shit, the stuff that some of them used to, like, push their ideas is so batshit insane that I read it and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
What are you? So
this is wild to me. I'm so interested.
You're good. There's 15 different things that kind of cross in all of this. So I really am trying my best to make sure that
We're in a really interesting little soup here of all these things.
Yes. And another thing that he mentions in this album, Hunky Dory, it's the song "Oh You Pretty Things." He's reading about the Nazis, not even Nazis. It's just like the beliefs that some of them held, because this is being published in books around this time too, because the Nazis have fallen. And now it's just a introspective, what happened, how did they come to power, what did they believe in, how did we get here? And people are interested, they're publishing it. He's picking up books like The Mornings of the Magicians. He's picking up stuff about like Thule and the Vril Society. We'll talk about some of that later. And it's just, he's absorbing this because he's a curious guy. He likes the occult. And it's wild to think that the Nazis were hunting for the Holy Grail.
Oh my God.
So like I've read some of this. Like, excerpts, not the whole book, because I don't hate myself that much. But, like...
So Indiana Jones was accurate.
Yes! But, unfortunately, in the mid-70s, Bowie actually does get into trouble with some anti-Semitic actions.
Oh, shit.
He's arrested for having Nazi paraphernalia in Europe, and he's photographed doing a Nazi salute. Ugh. That kind of stuff. At that point, he is also coked out of his fucking mind, literally going through cocaine-induced paranoia. Oh, and he's in the middle of this character that he calls the Thin White Duke, which is for the album Station to Station. Okay. Bowie is incredibly apologetic about it later on. He says that basically he deserves to be criticized. Everybody was right to tell him that, you know, what he's doing is fucked up. And it seems pretty apparent to me that he really was just coked out of his mind. And he wasn't even fully aware of what he was doing within the context of his actions. He comes out later too and says that there's a period of like 4 or 5 years where he doesn't even remember stuff.
Wow.
Like he knows that
I mean, that's what heavy drug use will fucking do to you, man.
He says in an interview, he knows that he recorded Station to Station in LA because he read it in an interview. Like, it's that kind of stuff.
Yeah, similar to, like, Freddie Mercury kind of shit. Like, yeah.
And I want to be super honest, we don't condone or forgive that kind of behavior.
No.
But I also just want to share openly that he did do these things, but he was also later remorseful and openly changed, like, his views on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, he opened up about it. It's good.
Yeah, and Bowie himself, I mean, all of this started just innocently reading about Nazis looking for the Holy Grail and the Spear of Destiny. And I mentioned the Vril Society and Thule earlier, so quickly. Thule is like some German occultist group that was founded after World War I. Many members of the group became leading figures and sympathizers to the Nazi Party. And these are the guys who really got the idea of the Aryan race, like, going.
Okay.
Some people believed in this group that the Aryan race descends from the tall white aliens. I can't get there. I can't.
That's a lot.
We're getting more. I'm like, my blood pressure is so high right now.
Breathe.
The Vril Society is this idea that was presented in a fictional book in 1871, and then again in The Morning of the Magicians in the 1960s, where that's kind of another one that's like talking about, well, this is what the Nazis were into, yada, 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 some of their esoteric occult bullshit, which is a book that Bowie most definitely had access to. The idea of the Vril Society is that there were humans who isolated themselves in underground chasms, and they would come out when the world was made ready for them, or something along those lines.
Just a little hibernation.
Yeah, and like basically them separating themselves allowed them to become magical and have superhuman abilities. Okay. Don't ask me too many questions, because this is something that I haven't read too much on, and I get a lot of this from listening to family members talk about this.
Okay.
And also about how somehow the Vril Society also gave the Nazis UFO technology and something women could communicate with aliens with their hair and ponytails.
Well, that part's true.
That's what's going on right now.
Yes.
They're beaming it directly to my head.
I have been communicating with aliens this entire podcast.
What were we talking about?
Your story.
We were talking about the first stanza of Quicksand.
Oh, okay.
One song. We are one song. But when you look at Quicksand, all of Quicksand, this song, when you pull back and look at it, it's a self-reflection song, and it's a realization that magic is fucking hard and it's work, and it's about like, can I even do this? I'm falling into the quicksand of my mind. Don't believe in yourself. The answers that you seek will be found after you die. Like, it's just this acceptance of like, there is magic in the world. I'm not sure if I can do it, but I'm gonna keep trying.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and
I think Harry Potter felt very similarly.
Hell, Harry, I like your glasses. 50 points to Gryffindor. Yeah.
How realistic are the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park? My name is Dan, host of Based on a True Story, the podcast that compares your favorite Hollywood movies with history. I had a chat with the paleontologist who consulted on all the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies to find out the real history behind the dinosaurs we see in the movies. And it doesn't stop there. From Indiana Jones and Pirates of the Caribbean to Saving Private Ryan and Tombstone, if you've ever wondered how much of your favorite movies really happened, head on over to basedonatruestorypodcast.com to find out. Once again, that's basedonatruestorypodcast.com.
I'm so sorry, because this, like, there's just so much.
There is a lot, but it's
so
interesting.
much.
Yeah.
Another song on that album, Hunky Dory, is the song Oh You Pretty Things. And it's literally about the coming of the superhuman race mentioned in the Vril Society books.
Okay, great.
It's about
just a nice little song.
It's about them coming and taking their place on this world. The lyrics are pretty easy to read, and if you don't understand them, that's totally fine, because there's a point at which he literally says, I'm gonna make this clear, you gotta make way for the Homo Superior, they're the start of a coming race.
He lays it out for us.
He really does.
We're not hiding.
And it talks about the strangers have come and they're here to stay. Yeah, they're coming, they're taking their place. And also, another famous mid-early century occultist, esoteric bullshitter is Madame Blavatsky, who was also super into the idea of the Vril Society and superhumans. And she took this idea and she made it her own as well. And she had this whole idea of masters, which were humans who had evolved past our limits and were hiding out in the Himalayas. Oh. And she said she had not only met them, was initiated into the group. But nobody else was allowed to meet them, just her.
Obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to jump now to back to Station, which is that album where he was the Thin White Duke that I mentioned earlier. This is where he is deep in the throes of a cocaine addiction. And is probably the farthest into magic that he had gone. I had read a couple of different things that were talking about him, and we talked about in Quicksand, he's kind of like, well, magic's really hard. Well, there's this belief that leading up to and during Station, Bowie had ramped up his cocaine use and was basically trying to use it to shortcut magic. Okay. And like bring himself to a different mind state.
It'll do that for you.
Yes. And we see a lot more occultish stuff in Station's lyrics and also like in the art. The titular song on the album, Station to Station, off of the album Station to Station. Bowie references the Kabbalah Tree of Life in its lyrics, one magical movement from Kether to Malak. These lyrics call out by name 2 different areas in this Tree of Life, the Kether being the crown or the heavens and the Malak being the physical realm or the bottom. So it's also talking about like basically I've moved very quickly and we're falling from heaven down to earth.
Okay.
That sort of shit. And fun little fact too, which is, it's just, Bowie was such an artistic individual, and he paid a lot of attention to everything. He's one of those people, not to sound up my own ass, I see a lot of similarities between like my mindset and his, of like, it's not just the big picture, but it's the small details that you can fit in different things, the imagery and the iconography. In the photos for his album Station to Station, the same one where he mentions the Catherine of Malkuth, he's photographed in an outfit drawing out the Tree of Life. He wears the same outfit again in his music video, Lazarus, which is also full of occult things. And it's just, Lazarus and Black Star kind of have this theme of like, the Thin White Duke is still present here within me. And like,
Okay.
in a sense, we are moving back to the mystical. And basically, we're moving back to spiritualism and mysticism because this is death. This is the final walkway to the unknown, the ultimate unknown.
Okay.
During the recording of that final album and during the recordings of the music videos, he knew that he had a terminal cancer diagnosis. He knew death was coming. Everything was very intentional.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that he had already known that when he was
had
writing
known.
this. Wow.
Yeah. So like knowing that the album came out like 2 or 3 days before he died.
Yeah, that's right. It
Yeah.
did.
So he knew very well. So
Yeah.
knowing that he was going to die, picking this song specifically, and then picking that specific outfit, like there is a reason. He's telling a story. He's letting you know like something about his mind state. And I think
Yeah.
it was very much like this return to magic and mysticism, and like almost a return to, because after Station to Station, we see like a lot of the occult stuff kind of drops off for a bit.
Okay.
He gets off of cocaine. He goes to Berlin. He makes a bunch of really great albums with Iggy Pop.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of,
Yeah.
a little interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
But yeah, I can't, there's a lot of really interesting stuff that's very deep into all of this. Those are just kind of the ones that are very like top that I could kind of pick through
Yeah.
and try to parse out and explain. And I'm so sorry. I want to rip my brain out because even I've read about this for the last like week now, and even trying to verbalize it, I recognize it makes no sense.
I don't know. I'm okay with it being compartmentalized. Like we kind of just had sections there, like where we learned different
Yeah.
things, but they all still kind of like flow together.
Good. I'm glad.
Because you're saying he ties it together with that final album.
He does.
Like,
Oh, Black
which is
Stars.
really cool.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I will admit, I had listened to Lazarus, and I had listened to, which Lazarus in its own is like a very symbolic name choice, because Lazarus in the Bible died and then was resurrected 4 days later.
Mm-hmm.
And in the music videos for both Black Star and Lazarus, I'm so sorry, he kind of presents himself as like this blind prophet. He's shown with like cloth over his eyes, and there's like buttons sewn on, almost as if he's painted on eyes to give this idea that he knows what he's doing or what he's talking about, when really none of us know. None of us know at all. We look to him because he's an icon. He was I was going to say he was, but he is a musical icon, a legend that we will never have the same kind of ever again in our lives.
Yeah, I agree.
Very, 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 I think, whether or not you believe in magic, I think he was a magician. And like Henry Zabrowski said from last podcast, his magic, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, you're good.
His magic was the ability to make art and it exist. Like, the creation of something is magic.
Yeah.
And he was an absolute and incredible musician and magician. And I want to tell a couple of really funny stories to kind of wrap it up.
Okay.
Because
I mean, I think that is kind of a magic. Like, I agree with you. Yeah.
he lived a beautiful artistic life, even if it had some Nazi influence. David Bowie, I wish he would have kept that out of it, but god damn it, dog. So, as I mentioned before, when he was doing his album Station to Station, which was, ironically, you mentioned 1974, that's when his album came out. So,
oh, wow. I think that was the same year as The Exorcist, I think, when it came out, I'm pretty sure.
So there's, like, the world
just
is
so much going on
full
at that time.
of occultists and, like, all sorts of shit. It's this crazy spiral of shit.
Yeah.
So you've got this family that's getting harassed by a demon, and then you have David Bowie in LA living off cocaine, cigarettes, milk, and peppers.
Oh my god.
He dropped down to like 87 pounds.
Milk and peppers.
Milk and peppers.
Oh my god.
So, like I mentioned, him and his wife were in LA, and they bought a home that was owned previously by Gypsy Rose, who was a famous dancer.
Wow.
Not the poor girl abused by her mom.
Yeah, not the one that killed her mom. Okay.
No, not that one. This is a different one. So when they get there, they're like moving stuff around, I guess. And David Bowie realizes Gypsy Rose had painted a like hexagram on the symbol of like a circular room.
Uh-huh.
And he's already like super into the occult, but he's like paranoid. He is losing his shit, and he goes bonkers out of his fucking mind, and his wife has to spend days trying to calm him down.
He's on cocaine at this time.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, that makes you're paranoid as fuck already.
So all is good and calm. Like, she calms him down. He's good. And then one day, Bowie comes up to her and he says, Satan lives in our indoor pool.
Oh.
I saw him rising out of the water one night.
Okay.
David tells her, I want to exercise the pool. Fortunately for him, he had a new white witch friend who was introduced to Bowie by their mutual friend named Cherry Vanilla.
Sure. Great.
Because Cherry Vanilla is a name in the 70s.
And her best friend was Coca-Cola.
Actually, it's Mr. Pibb.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. So the witch that he was introduced to by Miss Cherry Vanilla was
Jesus Christ.
Wally Emlark, who said she would help him out with this. Yeah, his wife wanted to bring in a Catholic church exorcist to come in, but David said no.
Yeah.
He said he didn't want strangers in his home, which I get, especially if you're that like paranoid from cocaine. We're beyond.
Yeah.
So Wally gives David a list of books and like doodads and instructions for exercising the pool, and David gets to work. And apparently, it did work. Both David and his then wife reported that the pool began bubbling.
Whoa.
First slowly, and then it grew to a vigorous thrashing of water.
Oh my God.
But when it was all said and done, this demonic pool entity was still around in a sense. It was no longer rising from the pool, but it was instead confined to a cement and watery grave at the bottom of it.
Interesting. Well, you were talking about how poltergeists like water.
Well, they're saying
it's Satan himself.
Yes.
Like,
and they're saying that a demonic, twisted, gargoyle-shaped stain laid upon the bottom of the pool.
Whoa.
It was there until they moved out. They couldn't clean it.
Interesting.
Yeah. This is a quote.
I love this.
This is a quote from his I guess they got divorced. I was going to say their now ex-wife, but this is a quote from Angie Bowie. Quote, I backed away from it, feeling very strange. Went through the doorway and told David what I'd seen, trying to be nonchalant, but not doing very well. He turned white, but eventually became revived enough to spend the rest of the night doing coke.
Well, when you're addicted to coke, you can find a way.
Yeah. So they moved out of the house soon after, and apparently even the new owners couldn't get rid of the Satan pool stain.
Wow.
Yeah, but like
Satan pool stain.
I'd personally pay extra.
That's a good
Satan. That's a good album name.
Yeah, it is. Satan pool stain.
Yeah. So Bowie was also around this time filling his home with ancient Egyptian artifacts and burning black candles at all hours of the day. He was hallucinating bodies falling past his windows, and he believed there was a coven of black magic witches who had stolen his semen.
Oh, there probably was.
Yeah.
Probably paid top dollar for David Bowie semen at that time.
Dude, they pay for it now.
Yeah.
Dig him up. I want that dead man's cum.
I think when you've been dead for a while, it probably doesn't exist anymore. It's dried up.
You should tell that to Edward Cullen.
You're not wrong. He just spouts glitter.
Yes. Is that what we determined on the Twilight shitposting group?
Oh, there's so many theories. I love them all.
Ugh.
Yeah. I like just spouting glitter though. That's a good one. Yeah.
It's like a puff of dust. So another amazing story that just cracks me up because I think these two people could have been such good friends.
Mm-hmm.
But David Bowie was terrified of Jimmy Page, the guitarist for the legendary band Led Zeppelin.
Oh, okay. But that makes sense because Satanic Panic and everything going on
yeah.
at this time. Yeah.
They had some altercation in New York City where, like, David Bowie just absolutely believed that Jimmy Page was a powerful evil warlock who put a curse on him.
Oh my God.
To the point that I had read that it had made him, David Bowie, move to LA.
Oh my God.
But, like, from what I had read, because I read somebody who had accounted the interaction, and David had asked Jimmy Page if he was a magician, and Jimmy Page just stared at him, like, super intensely. And it made
He's
David...
just fucking with him.
It made David so uncomfortable, and David Bowie reported that, like, the lights began to flicker, and David Bowie told him to get the fuck out of his house.
Well, he's on cocaine!
I know!
Oh my
but,
God.
like, I think the two of them could have been such good friends, because Jimmy Page was also super into the occult. He loved Aleister Crowley and Thelema. Like, to the point, Jimmy Page actually bought the legendary cottage that Crowley had owned on Loch Ness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he owned it for a really long time until it burnt down.
I've always wanted to visit Loch Ness.
I have always wanted to go. They've turned that cottage into a bed and breakfast at one point.
No way.
Yes.
I wonder if we could still go.
Jimmy Page didn't stay there. He had a friend that stayed there and took care of it for him. And the friend reported, like, that place was haunted as fuck.
Oh, hell yeah. We got to stay there.
So I talked about, I'm so sorry. This is not about David Bowie or Jimmy Page, but it's about Crowley really quick.
Okay.
I'll keep this really creepy.
Keep it really creepy, please.
I'll keep it really creep. I'll keep this really brief because there's so much about Crowley that you could get into. But regarding the Loch Ness Monster, so Crowley isolated himself in the home that he bought on Loch Ness to try to perform an incredibly in-depth, tedious, and intense ritual to summon a guardian angel. It was to involve multiple months worth of work and like summoning up of powerful demons and binding them under his power. It's this whole thing. But while he's in the middle of everything, like he got started and was going, he was summoned back to Britain to deal with some leadership issues in the Order of the Golden Dawn, which was one of the religious things that he was like a leader in. So it was important enough that he immediately left, not completing the spell and allegedly leaving the portals to hell open that he had open to summon stuff.
This is just supernatural.
Basically, yeah. So that was in 1913.
Always shut the door to hell when you are done using hell.
That was in 1913. The Loch Ness Monster had been reported, like, we've seen legends of something living in a lake for, like, ever before that. But in 1933, we began to see a modern day uptick in Loch Ness Monster sightings. So maybe these gates were open long enough for an 8-story tall crustacean from the Paleolithic era to come out and ask Chef's dad for about tree fitty. Or maybe it's a coincidence. And that was a South Park reference.
I go with the first one. I don't watch South Park enough. I'm sorry. Someone else will get it though.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It's just this little skit that they did where like the boys were talking to Chef's dad. Chef's just chef, you know, and Chef's dad's like, "You boys want to hear about when I saw the Loch Ness Monster?" And they're like, "No." He starts going on about, "My wife and I were in the boat, and then all of a sudden, out of the water rose an 8-story tall crustacean from the Paleolithic era, and he comes down, and he asked me for about tree fitty." But it like different variations. They'll be like, "Oh," then the next time that I saw him, it was a Girl Scout cookie seller at my door, and I talked to her. And by the time that I realized that it was an 8-foot tall or 8-story tall crustacean of the Paleolithic era, it asked me for tree fitty. And it was just, it's increasingly ridiculous. Anyway, that's it.
I love it.
I would love to revisit this topic later on and redo this because there's so much more.
Well, each thing in here could be its own topic.
Oh, for
like,
sure.
You've got little bits and pieces that could be so much, but I love all this though. There's so much good lore here.
Thank you. I want to show you really quick too because I'm very impressed. I'm just going to scroll. All of this is stuff that I actually personally typed up. Like, I'm not copying from articles. I literally streamed of conscious. It just keeps going.
Oh my god, girl. I've
go.
seen like, okay, listen, and like, okay, let's like do this thing like 4 times.
Yeah.
Oh, that was incredible.
Thank you for dealing with
I love how passionate you are about it though. It's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's the stupidest shit you could ever waste your time researching.
I wouldn't say that.
Not David Bowie, but like the Thule and the Vril Society.
That
like,
the Real Society is it? What is that? VRILL?
VRIL.
Okay.
Yeah. Fun little fact too. It's just very funny. So been really busy. I haven't talked to my dad a lot. He had no idea what I was researching. But it was like Friday night and Friday or Thursday night, I had just finished typing up some stuff and I was doing some more digging into the Vril Society to make sure that I had some stuff correct. He calls me and I answer it and he's like, "Hey, I was just thinking about you." I go, "Oh, well, guess what I'm researching?" And he goes, "Is it the Vril Society?"
That's weird.
It really was.
That's creepy.
He had just been thinking about it, and we had talked about it for a little bit. Yeah.
Have we talked about, you and I, about how, like, I shouldn't say I have this theory because there's no way in hell I'm the only person in the world who has this theory, but, like, I have this feeling sometimes that, like, granted, I know a lot of things become popular because of how media, like, presents it and marketing and all that stuff, but, like, sometimes there's, like, this, it feels like people are on the same, like, energy wave or whatever, and so that's kind of what makes you have these, and it could be like months or years, or it could be weeks or days or something, and it's like that's what makes people think about these things. Like, I don't know.
No, it's total. I totally get what you're feeling. I've had that too. I like to think, this is so goofy, I've caught it a few different times in my life where I will get really, really into something, and then a few months later it becomes very popular.
Yes.
I dyed my hair bright green at the beginning of the year 2 years ago, and then like within 6 months Charlie XCX released Brat.
Yeah.
And suddenly everybody's doing
Green hair.
green and black.
Just everything green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the same thing with like, not that I'm like the biggest trendsetter. Oh my God, I know everything. But like I was in high school. I was like a sophomore or a junior in high school, and I got very into moths.
Mm-hmm.
And then out of like seemingly nowhere, poof, every goth girl has a moth tattoo.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was popular before then too, but it was like very sudden.
Yeah, it's like it's for some reason we're on this same
Mhm.
like plane. For me, it feels more like a time thing. Like I don't know. There's so many different theories about time, about being like linear or whatever. But like
It's a social construct.
obviously, years times weeks, it doesn't fucking matter. But like we're on this like. I don't know. It's almost like things are moving and like sometimes they kind of match up, like like different planes of existence and stuff. Yeah, I don't know.
No, I get that. That's a
Yeah.
very. I think David Bowie would love that.
Oh yeah, if he was sitting here right
Yeah.
now, we'd get into it for sure.
The song Changes is about the reptilians coming up from Hollow Earth and how you got to turn to face the strange changes.
Oh my god,
It's not.
Wait,
Maybe
did you
it
just
is.
make that up?
Maybe it is. Hold up.
you.
Should we get the lyrics pulled up?
Sure.
Time may change me. Time may evolve me into a homo superior, living in underground caverns. I can't change time,
I
though.
can't change
I
time.
can't waste time. I have to get Earth ready for them. They're here. They're queer, just like David Bowie, and they're here to stay.
Yeah.
David Bowie was famously bisexual and apparently
Yes.
loved a blowjob.
I mean, I would assume that most men probably agree with that.
Imagine, though,
Yes?
peppers and milk.
Bro, how did your tummy not hurt so bad?
He was 87 pounds.
Like, you got nothing in your tummy but stomach acid, and you're putting milk and then something hot in there?
we
I'd
got
be shitting myself. No, of course he's 87 pounds.
a guy at work. I'm not gonna say his name.
Uh-huh.
He's not gonna listen anyway. But he is also like a marathon runner.
Uh-huh.
Like loves to bike, swim, everything like that.
Yeah.
And we were talking one day. He's like, "Yeah, in the summer on a nice hot summer day, I'll run a lot, and I come home and I just drink a big old glass of milk."
Oh my god.
Yeah.
the
Everyone was
fuck?
like, "Ugh."
That sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Sometimes, so when I was younger, I used to drink a ton of milk because marketing told us we needed to drink milk to have
Got
healthy
milk.
bones and teeth.
A
Yeah.
lot of little like white milk mustaches.
Yeah.
too.
And I did love milk, and I still do. But like, it's a lot of calories. It doesn't make me feel great to drink like an entire glass of milk anymore.
Yeah.
So I have like a little sippy sip. Like I'm making my chai latte. I just like take a little chug out of there
Yeah.
because it's my milk and no one else uses it, so I can drink directly from the carton. But like, I can't imagine having. No, after doing a strenuous physical activity, having a nice thing of full dairy.
Yeah.
Get out of here. No.
When I was a kid, I would drink milk, like one glass after every dinner.
Yeah, mine was usually with dinner. I mean, we would be having fucking meatloaf, and I'm having a glass of
Yes.
like this size glass of milk.
Mine would be like half that size.
No, like
But it
I
was-
was a full thing of fucking milk.
It was like one of those things. It wasn't anything that I ever like expressed out loud, but like I would put my plate in the sink and I'd go over and I'd get the milk and I'd pour it in the cup and I wouldn't sit at the table. I would stand next to the fridge and I would
just drink
gulp it
that milk.
and then go upstairs.
The
Yeah.
more we're talking about this, I'm hungry, and I'm like, man, I want to go take a swig of that milk that I have. I might. I honestly might. I love it.
Oh man.
But it's got to be, for me, it needs to be 2% or whole milk. Like,
Yeah.
don't fuck with that skim milk. That's just water.
I like 2%. I'm a
Yeah.
I'm a 2%er.
I'm a whole. I want the whole fat.
Yeah. You want the whole cow?
The whole cow and fat. Yeah, yeah.
Great. Well,
What's the other 98% made of?
I don't know.
No
I
one knows,
don't-
and you're not allowed to ask.
I don't know. I've never asked.
I'll do an episode on that one time. That'd
Don't.
be really
No.
boring.
My mom would love it because she would use it as an opportunity to convert us to veganism. But I don't want to do an episode on
I do not
milk
want to do an
processing.
episode on
it would,
milk.
It
No.
would make me sad.
It would make me very sad. Yeah. So yesterday I was trying to find a new Cutie Pie corner for our mini.
Oh, because I stole your last one.
Yes, you did, the cake bandit. And so I started Googling like animal news, and I just got so sad because all of the animal headlines were, I won't even say them. They were just all horrible, one
No.
after the other.
Yeah, like the possum one, like that was after like an hour of looking. because
Yes.
they've been awful.
They're so bad. Usually I end up finding cutie pies within my headlines. I just
Yeah.
like will pick one out from there because when you search animal news, you have to search like uplifting animal
Yes.
news, cute animal news, because just animal news, I was like, oh, this is all horrible. Everyone's horrible to animals. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little rough out there,
I
but
just don't understand because like goddamn we love our animals so much.
oh, mine. I didn't
Ugh.
see many about like people like harming animals. I just
Oh, I
saw
saw
stuff
that.
like the bird flu stuff and like.
No, the ones I was seeing was like person arrested for doing that, person arrested for doing that, like 25 dogs found in a house.
Oh my
gosh. This dog has been in the shelter for 2 years, and I'm like, I have to adopt that dog right now.
Bobby's gonna come home one day and there's gonna be like 100 dogs.
My dream one day is to have a house that has like a second house in the back, and that's just for the dogs. It's the dog house, literally.
Are the dogs gonna clean it?
No, I think I'll get a dog cleaner. You know what? I'll have one of the dogs be the cleaner.
Perfect.
They can get paid for it. Yeah, whoever would like to volunteer.
And treats and belly rubs.
You've got to be at least 25 pounds, because anything smaller than that, you're going to have a really hard time.
With the vacuum, especially.
Exactly. Yeah, and you can't be afraid of the vacuum.
I just imagine a dog turning the vacuum on and then running away. Oh, man.
Have you seen people doing those videos with the SpongeBob audio where it's like, I'd like to see the next guy that looks at me funny, and it's like, what about that guy? And it's the vacuum, and the dog's like, I love those. That was a fun episode.
I think it was a very fun, a very, very 70s episode.
Yes. That 70s episode. That 70s podcast.
No, don't try to force it.
I used to love that show.
That 70s show?
Yeah.
I've seen a couple episodes. It was fine.
I used to like it a lot.
I tried watching that 90s show. It was okay.
Oh, God, no.
It was okay.
There's no way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they
fine.
tried. They tried. Sitcoms are kind of dying, to be honest. Anyways.
Just like this podcast. Thank you guys for listening.
This is the last one before we both die.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's just the end of it for now.
Okay, yeah. Sure. I'll definitely see you next time, Haley.
In the physical or the spiritual realm.
Oh, yeah.
We will record and publish podcasts from the ghost realm.
Obviously. We would never want to let you guys down just by dying.
I hope David Bowie's having a good time.
You know he is.
Do you think him and Lorraine Warren are getting along up there?
I'd say half the time. Half the time they'll get like high and they'll be like having a great conversation.
You think Lorraine Warren got high?
I think David Bowie could convince her.
No.
Just on weed, at least.
Yeah. He didn't like weed.
Really?
He did not like weed. Yeah.
I mean, cocaine and weed are literally opposites, so if he liked cocaine that much, I guess it makes sense.
He jumped right to coke, yep.
Was he sober after he finished all that stuff up, or did he just stop taking cocaine?
I believe they said that he became like sober, completely sober.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, though. That was wonderful. Woo.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for your story. It was great. I had a good time.
Thank you for your story. It was great.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank
it was
you
great.
For listening and hanging out with us. It was great.
Oh my God, this has been recorded for 1 hour and 40 minutes. This episode's going to be so long.
It's going to be very long.
All right.
This might be the longest one. We haven't had one like super long in a while. So yeah, let's keep talking for 45 more minutes.
Don't. Well,
thanks for hanging with us.
Keep on making it weird.
Goodbye.
Bye.
If you liked our episode, please leave us a review on Spotify or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.
And don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads at Make It Weird Pod.
Got something weird you want to share with the world? Send it over to us at makeitweirdpod@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening to Make It Weird.
Bye.